What is up, everybody? Maine Fly Guys here with another tutorial. This is going to be a balanced leech, and it is one of my favorite lake patterns to tie. There it is. Beautiful little pattern. Super easy to fish, and kind of pretty easy to make. So to start, this is a 90-degree jig hook. You don't have to have 90, but I like 90. This is a size 4 or 6, I can't remember, jig hook. The nail that I use, I get that question a lot. What nail do you use? You can really use any nail. They sell them on fly tying websites, but you don't need those. But you can if you want. This is actually, what I like to use is, these are nails from a nail gun. They are 20 gauge nail gun, and what they have on them, I'm not sure if you can see, but they have little tick marks on them. And I have found that this particular brand, the 4th tick mark on it is where it needs to go on my vertical shaft to maintain a balanced level with the most common tungsten bead that I use, which this is a 3/16 inch tungsten bead. So I use that nail. It's also got a flat side because it's from a nail gun. So it's got a flat side, so it sits really well on the hook. So, are these things important? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, but it works for me. So I come in with some super glue and add it on each side of the flat nail there, just for some support so that it does not roll on either side. So I really, really try to make sure that I lock in this joint here, right by the 90-degree jig, and along this side. So I really try to make sure that it is secure, just because it's a real pain when this rolls over. Kind of ruins the fly, if you will. So a little bit of extra super glue is always important. What good fly doesn't have a little bit of super glue? So now for this color, the color scheme is endless, but for this leeches in Maine, where I'm fishing, they typically have a dark black and a red-brown hue to them. So the tail I'm using is black, and I don't like a big tail. I like a little itty-bitty tail. Nothing too long, because you still get the movement. So the size that I have here, you still get the movement of the marabou, but you get no fouling, and that's really something that I care about, is the fouling, because with a long marabou tail, it tends to foul, and if you don't know what fouling means, it means when the tail wraps around the hook. When it's short like this, it can't foul, and so that's why I really like the short tail, because it doesn't foul. So now we have that tied in. I'm going to make a dubbing loop, pretty long one. So what you do is you pull out a long string, put your finger down, wrap over it, makes a loop. See that loop there? Tie around a few times, and then what I do is I go around the loop. So I take my thread and I go around the loop, and what it does is it pinches it so that when I bring it up, there's a pinch point. And I'm going to tie that pinch point all the way back to the tail. I'm going to move my thread forward. Now I have this nice dubbing loop here. And here's my dubbing loop tool. Hook it up. And there is really only one. This is Arizona Semi-Seal. This is the best leech stuff out there. It's not even close. This is blood leech. This is really Maine's most prominent leech. Again, if you spend enough time in lakes, then you can see these leeches and you can kind of figure out what your own color scheme should be. But this is like Maine leech color. So what you do is, in that loop, you're going to open it up, take the material, stick it in there. You don't want it to be clumpy. Sparse is better. I see the biggest mistake with these patterns is people are putting too much material in. Less is better. Alright? So here's what I kind of have. And what I like to do is pull the material to one side. Not all the way, but probably, let's see if I can show it here. There you go. Probably 70-30. So I have 70-30 packet, not tight, but tight-ish. The good news is if you're like, well, is that enough material? How do I know how much is too much? How do I know if enough is not enough? And the good news is you can always just make another dubbing loop. So if you run out of dubbing here, you can just make a little dubbing loop and do it there. So now I'm pretty happy. I'm going to spin it up. And this is tightening, closing the loop, if you will. So you have a little bunching here at the top. Not a big deal. Pull that material, put it aside. Don't throw it away, because save it for your next leech. So now I'm wound pretty tight. What I'm going to do is take my dubbing brush. It's just Velcro, guys. It's not. It's a toothbrush with Velcro on the back. But it works really great. And I'm going to brush out this loop. This is just going to add a little bit more length to my dubbing brush. And it's going to make it have a nice translucent almost body where it's see-through. It will move very well in the water. And this Arizona semi-seal is literally the best. So you can really take your time here. Do not rush this part. This is important. So take your time and really brush this out. Okay? It's pretty good for me. Now, as I turn, I'm going to pull the fibers to the same side. So I'm going to be pulling them with my finger to the same side as I wrap. So I'm wrapping here. Camera's a little tight. Let's try not to hit it. When you're fishing this, how to fish it on a lake, basically what I do is I fish it underneath a strike indicator. So I get a leader, like 15 feet, about 15 feet. It can be quite long. The leader can be quite long. You might want to even make your own. I attach this as the lead, the first fly to the leader. And then I attach to this on the hook here, I will attach a chironomid or some type of midge that is common in the lake that I'm fishing. And you fish them underneath the strike indicator. So you cast it out. It's kind of I understand it's going to be kind of a pain in the butt to cast out. And then you let it sit there and you kind of jig it every now and then. And you can strip it back at like a medium pace after it sinks. You can do all kinds of things. You can even just let it sit there for a while. So it can be a lazy man's style. Alright, so I go right to the front here. Notice I have put my bead on backwards. This basically just hides the head of the hook. Because when you put it on the other way, the head sort of sticks out. So if you put it on backwards, then it hides that hook, or that nail eye. So I'm pretty happy with this so far. That looks great. I'm going to tie this off. I like to do 2 ties and then 1 out front. Cut it. And off we go with a whip finish. And then we are almost done. Basically now what you have to do is sculpt it. So you're going to brush it out one more time. You're going to brush it out one more time just to get any remaining fibers sort of out of there. So I brush it the opposite way that it should be facing. If I can hold on to stuff today. Don't be afraid to really get in there. If you do a good loop, doesn't really matter. So there we go. Those fibers are in there. Nice. Brush them out, brush them back. This will just give it more of that leechy body. Great. And now, if there's any stragglers, so like down here, I see I'm not really, these are a little too long. You can just come right in and trim it up. Nobody says you can't trim things, you know? So if you want it to have more of a taper it up, trim the tail, right? Ooh, my scissors are squeaky. So you can trim it up, and that's it. There is, let me give you a little wet profile, is your leech. And of course, you always have to do the balance test at the end. So you can string a little piece of string through and see how the balance is on your leech. And so what you can do is sort of just spin it a few times and see how it spins. And there you go. Wouldn't you know, we have a perfectly balanced leech. So it will sit in the water like so. And no matter what you do to it, it will stay balanced. Great pattern. Fools a lot of trout. A lot of rainbow trout have very good success, and brook trout. Any trout that has, you know, munching on these big cheeseburgers. So that is the balanced leech. Great for Maine lakes. If you have any questions about tying it, or if you want to buy some yourself, feel free to hit me up. I can tie some for you, as these are going to Rip Dam Camps up in the West Branch of the Penobscot. This is for a guy who does some serious fishing up there, so he knows what's up. Okay, that is it. Go check out our new stuff. We have all kinds of new stuff on mainflyguys.com. Leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time.